Thanks for tuning in. This is Gremi, and I'm outside of the Cleveland History Center, which is the headquarters for the Western Reserve Historical Society. Inside these walls are literally millions of artifacts related to Cleveland history and American history that involves Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland was once one of the richest cities in America, and all of that history, it's all housed within these walls, and I know it's spectacular in there. So we're going to go explore it today just a little bit for you guys on CleveItToUs. This is the closest you're ever going to get to actually stepping out of a real time machine, and it's right here in Cleveland. I'm gonna have a blast here. As soon as you walk in, the history starts flowing back. So I'm gonna talk to Angie. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Gremi. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to the Cleveland History Center.
Thank you. This is amazing. So colorful, so graphic, right away as soon as you walk in the door.
And that's why we call this space Cleveland Starts Here.
It does start here.
It does, absolutely, at the Cleveland History Center, but in this exhibit.
And you have history, not just Cleveland history, but world history that sort of started in Cleveland here in the museum, and we're going to explore a lot of that today, yes?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
This is exciting. So when do we start? When does the clock start? I mean, obviously, it's past, present, and future here.
It is past, present, and future. So the history of Cleveland starts with 1796 when Moses Cleveland comes to Cleveland from Connecticut. We have things rooted from the beginning of American history. And that's one of the things, you know, we're looking forward to 2026 when we celebrate 250 years of the United States being America.
Yes.
And where do we fit in that? How is Cleveland celebrating our part of the American narrative? And, you know, we're going to be doing it right here. American history, Cleveland history, all here.
Well, I know I'm going to have to come back way before 2026 because I have a feeling I'm going to see more today than I'm going to be able to really actually be able to appreciate in one visit.
Yesterday was history.
And tomorrow's a mystery.
It
but
is.
You're going to figure it out.
We
and
will.
You're going to have it here in the museum for everyone
right.
to see. So this is so great. So we get to explore, right? Is that all right if we
Absolutely.
walk around and explore?
Take a look around. If you see some of our staff, go ahead and say hello.
We're
I'm
going to
sure
talk
they'll be happy
to
to
some people,
show it off.
and maybe we can get behind the scenes and get a little crazy here.
Right.
So this is so great. So hopefully we'll talk to you in a bit.
All right.
Thank
Good to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now I'm in the Hay-McKinney Mansion, and it's sort of like you're in the White House. I'm going to meet with Eric, who knows everything there is to know about the mansion, and here he is right here. I'm going to give you the mic so we can hear you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited that you're here with us to kind of show us some of the most interesting things about this mansion.
Yeah, my pleasure.
How big is it?
About 20,000 square feet.
20,000 square feet.
Yeah, 20,000 square feet that was built for one person.
For one person, who you told me earlier never moved in.
Correct. So you can actually see her just over here. So this is the woman that built the house. Her name is Clara Stone Hay. She grew up in Cleveland on Old Millionaires Row, and she married John Hay, whose portrait is on the wall over there.
No kidding.
John Hay was one of Abraham Lincoln's private secretaries during the Civil War. Ended up as the Secretary of State under McKinley and Roosevelt. So after he passed away, she decided to move back to Cleveland, where she grew up.
Okay.
Started building this house because her sister lived here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, while she's building the house, her sister passed away. And so she decided she wanted to be closer to her kids, finished this place, 20,000 square foot house built for one person. She never moved in.
Never moved in.
So she sold it to the McKinney family. The McKinneys lived here for about 9 years, but this was their townhouse. They had a bigger place outside of Cleveland, so they were just here while the children were in school. So a few days a week.
Of course.
Yeah, as you do, you know. But what's interesting about the house is, I can show you this photo here. So these are two mansions that were on Old Millionaires Row downtown.
Okay.
Cleveland is famous for Millionaires Row. And this is where Clara grew up. The house on the left is the house she grew up in. And when she married John Hay, her parents built the house on the right. So they built a house right next door. But when she moved back to Cleveland, what had once been Millionaires Row was not really the fashionable place to live anymore. People were moving out to this area.
Yeah.
So she tore down both of these houses, but she upcycled them. So most of The fireplaces, for example, a lot of the doors and door frames are things that came from one of these two houses.
No kidding.
Yeah. And
So most of what was torn down was reused.
everything that she could reuse, she would reuse because it's a good cost saving. The biggest thing that she saved is actually the staircase here behind us. The portrait up there on the wall, that's a man named John Herkimer. He was a master wood carver. He's the man that carved the staircase. And the tools underneath in the case are his tools. So that's the man that used those tools to make this staircase that was moved from a mansion in Millionaire's Row to this mansion.
I love that.
More than 100
It's so cool that you have all of this.
At any given time, they maybe had as many as 14 domestic servants that worked in the house. This door right here, to me, this is my favorite part of the entire house. It's such a nondescript, uninteresting thing, but if you come over to this side with the camera, this door is the demarcation between the family side of the house and this is the servant side of the house. So this is back of house.
I see.
And just right here, just by standing here, you can see everything that was put in place so that you knew the difference between the family side and the servant side. So the family side has got a nice oak floor, servant side is pine. If you look at the door itself, on the family side of the house, it's nicely finished with an ornate bronze knob. On the servant side of the house, it's unfinished with just a cheap ceramic knob, porcelain
Wow.
knob. The heat for the family side of the house is oil-fired floor registers. It's
And the
just
servants had
steam.
wow.
Yeah, so if you've seen Downton Abbey, this is going to look familiar to you. Downton Abbey was great for us. But this is, again, we're in the servant side of the house. Just on the other side of this door was the kitchen. And this is the buzzer box. So every room in the family side of the house had a button that
Okay.
if you wanted their help, you push the button, the bell rings, this little, one of these arrows will point up to whatever room you're needed.
You know, thinking about Downton Abbey, that takes place in the early 1900s. I think the first episode was 1912,
Yep.
right after the sinking
I
of the
saw it too.
Titanic, yeah. And they didn't have, electricity was brand new.
Sure.
And you didn't have it unless you were filthy rich. Even in 1912, the aristocracy, they had lights maybe,
Sure.
but everything else was fire and all natural. So they had the pull string levers that would ring a bell. But I think it's fitting that in Cleveland, we were the first to light our streets using
Right.
electricity. In a mansion like this, of course, we would have an electronic way to summon the servants
Sure.
to the different areas of the house.
And there's another one of these upstairs. So just up the stairs behind you, those are the servants' bedrooms.
Definitely check this guy out. Check out his team here if you get a chance because, like I said, I could probably stay here all day, and I'm going to spend a day probably learning even more the next time I come by. So check that out, and we're going to go explore some more.
Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming out.
I'm the Costume and Textiles Curator here at the Western Reserve Historical Society. I've been here for about 7 years now, and we have a textile collection of over 40,000 objects. So that includes women's clothing, men's clothing, children's clothing, all kinds of accessories like shoes, fans, and then also flat textiles like furnishing textiles, samplers, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So my job is to take care of the collection, bring new things in, and then I do exhibits once a year. So we're standing in the gallery,
Okay.
and we have an exhibit here right now called Dressed for the Job, Clevelanders in Uniform. And it's
Very
a
cool.
broad look at uniforms and also prescriptive dress, and I mean things you're supposed to wear for a certain occasion
Okay.
that connect to Clevelanders' lives. So this
Very
show runs through Memorial Day, and then I'll put a new show on.
Very cool.
I love seeing people's fingerprints and things on the glass
Because you know that they're really getting
engaging.
close,
Yeah.
yes.
So sometimes you see like a big forehead print. So anyway, then you clean them later. But
So I think this is cool. This people in the workplace over time, going through history. Now we don't. You look at somebody in their work clothes, you have no idea what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you're looking at old photographs, you're really not experiencing this like I am
right.
here, and you really owe it to yourselves to check this place out. If you want to step out of a time machine every now and then, come here because this is amazing. That's what I feel like I did today. I'm walking through a timeline that who gets the opportunity to do that, really?
Yeah, to see the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are just really cool examples of workwear. I think the uniform can be both equalizing, but also it delineates, your status in a way too. But there were a lot of workwear producers in Cleveland, textile manufacturers who were making uniforms, and one of them was Euclid Workwear. And so these two garments here, the green dress and the white coveralls, are the same company but decades apart, and so they've evolved from something that's for your waitress or cleaner or what have you,
Sure.
into the suit that keeps lint away from electronics during the manufacturing process. And then
Very important.
yeah. And then really cool example from our library really connects to the museum collection. They have archival material like the swatch book. So you see the same companies producing, we have the objects, the uniforms, but then the internal documents and examples of fabric colors and that sort of thing.
How they sort of made it all happen. I love it. So I'm here with Dennis Berry, and this is a different section of the museum. There's so many different wings and sections. I'm loving this so much. So you have your own area of expertise when it comes to the art collections and sort of the political things. Tell us about it.
Yeah, happy to. There are so many different aspects to this museum.
So
many
many
different collections. You just happened to see the wonderful Hay House. But we have an amazing art collection. We have almost 4,000 works of art.
That's incredible.
It's probably like second only to the art museum across the street. And we've been trying very much to get those works of art out on our walls during while we're open. Behind us, you see something very typical of what we have. We have a lot on the air races that were very big in Cleveland in the 20s, 30s, 40s, into the 50s.
Absolutely.
So this is a wonderful poster from the air races.
And I think it's worth noting that we still have the air races. They're just known as the Cleveland Air Show.
Yeah, it is the Cleveland Air Show. It evolved.
A fun fact, I don't know if you know, the song for the Air Force was debuted
No.
at the Cleveland Air Races.
No, I did not know that.
See, look at that.
No,
I knew
very
that.
impressed.
That was the first time. It's a little Cleveland history that I knew.
You know, the wonderful thing about the air race, everybody was part of them. Amelia Earhart and, all the
Yes.
great flyers that are legendary in the early part of the 20th century raced in the Cleveland air races.
Well, back then, when you were a good pilot,
Yeah.
it was national. It was global news.
It was.
Now there's these incredible pilots, and you really don't know about them because
Yeah.
they're, unless you're Sully and you landed on the Hudson,
Exactly.
nobody's talking about incredible pilots that are all over the place. Back then,
Yeah.
if you were an incredible pilot, everyone knew your name.
Yeah, it's so true.
So tell us about some of the other things that you have. I mean, obviously, we're the birthplace of aviation. The Wright
Yeah.
brothers built the first airplane here.
I'll show you even around this room. We have early paintings of downtown in the 1920s and 30s.
And these are recognizable buildings.
These are very
you know.
recognizable buildings. Yes, they still exist. That's the Hanna building.
Yeah.
This one over here is the Rockefeller building, So we have maps of early Cleveland, overviews. This is one of my favorite things in the museum. And this is this painting of the Cuyahoga Valley and Cleveland, in the 1830s, done in 1926. But you really get a sense of what the town was like, including the very famous bridge. There was the Bridge War. On this side is Ohio City, still called Ohio City.
Of course, yes.
In those days, it was a separate community. It wasn't part of the city of Cleveland.
No kidding.
And there was a fight over where the boats would land and where the commerce would be unloaded. And Cleveland wanted a bridge to be built between the two cities, and the Ohio City people did not want the bridge to be built. So they actually had a fight. They brought a cannon over, they had troops over here. Nobody got killed. You get to see what the town
This
looked
was
like.
this
Such a
was
simple
100 years before it caught on fire.
Yeah, exactly. It was relatively clean then. You could probably swim in it. You can swim in it now. So here you can see Lincoln, and you can see William Henry Harrison, and
Andrew
Jackson,
Jackson.
and Washington. This is fun. Eisenhower visited Cleveland many times, but he visited in the 1950s. He was at a downtown hotel. These are his handwritten notes because he had to defend Vice President Nixon at that time.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, and these are his notes, and we got his note. Look over here.
How cool is this?
How cool is this? This is a political button collection for the major elections throughout the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. And we have probably the largest political button collection in the country. This was the painting of Corky and Lenny that hung in Corky and Lenny's Delicatessen.
Get this,
on Cedar
at Cedar Center, which became Fuddruckers, and then
they moved out to Beechwood.
They moved to Beechwood.
But they gave us the painting.
Corky and Lenny's is a Cleveland staple.
Absolutely.
So naturally, it's part of Cleveland history. You have to have the original painting of Corky and Lenny on the wall.
So there you are. You're there with the Spirit
At
of
the Cleveland
76
History
on
Center.
one wall,
And Corky and Lenny on another.
On another. So it's just great.
That's amazing.
We're in a special exhibit called Women and Politics. And this exhibition was put together to celebrate the passing of the 20th Amendment, where women got the right to vote. We did it with the League of Women Voters, who helped us with a lot of the material. And then a lot of the stuff comes from our own collections.
So from going to finally getting the right to vote,
Yeah.
to having a woman as vice president, as much political history as we have in Cleveland, we have a great history of women in politics.
Exactly.
The first time I ever walked through the United States Capitol, it was a private tour that was given to me by Stephanie Tubbs Jones.
Oh, she was
My grandmother and my sisters, we got a tour from Stephanie Tubbs Jones. I got to meet her quite a few times.
Yeah, she's great. I love Stephanie.
The last time I saw her, she told me about her favorite song. That's the last conversation I had.
And what was her favorite song?
I Hope You Dance. Yeah, her favorite song was I Hope You Dance.
Oh, I know it.
Leanne Womack.
Yeah, Leanne Womack is a great song.
That was the last conversation I had with Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and I shared with her my favorite song at the time, and she shared with me her favorite song.
Yeah.
If you take the Rapid to Hopkins, you walk right past this amazing display that his wife did for Stephanie Tubbs Jones. That's right here in Cleveland, and it's a wonderful display. And our show is all about Cleveland. There's so much history here, and none of this is boring. This is all incredible stuff. I could spend days at a time here, and I think I will.
Yeah.
Are there memberships? Can you become a member?
There are memberships on all levels. There are individual memberships, there are family memberships.
This is a very cool section of the museum.
I'm very excited to be in charge of this section of the museum. Yeah, it's great. I have been the director for 7 months.
Okay.
So very short. Just joined last summer.
Okay.
So I'm super glad to be here. I came from a background of journalism and automotive parts.
From the cars to the planes to the old carousel from Euclid Beach Park. There's so much to see up top, but also down below.
Yes.
You've got multiple levels.
Yes, this is a 2-story car museum here.
This is amazing. So it's cars, it's aviation.
Motorcycles, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
The first car to join the collection is the 1910 Duryea Electra over there. So that's an electric car from 1910. That joined the collection in 1937, so it was just a used car at that time. There are many cars that predate 1910. We've got some stuff from the late 1800s. Some stuff that was built here in Cleveland in the late 1800s. Yeah, absolutely.
If you had a car in the 1800s, you were really well off.
Absolutely. There was...
because people in the 1800s didn't have electricity.
Yeah, or roads to drive them on.
Or radios.
Oh, yeah. To put it into some context for your viewers, there were about 8,000 cars in the U.S. by 1904. So cars had been made for about 10 years.
We drove past that many cars just to come here.
Absolutely. Within a 5-mile radius of this building, there's 8,000. Yeah, totally.
Transportation has changed so much in the past 100 years. We're just talking about electricity and how that's changed in Cleveland, played an instrumental part in electricity. We were the first city to be lit to light our roads with electricity.
1920s era. Cleveland was one of the richest cities in the world, richer than Paris or London or
Absolutely.
anything like that. This is a 1909 Hupmobile. This was one of the earliest cars to join the collection as well. They're no longer viable transportation. You can't,
No, there's no airbags in this.
Right.
That's why they didn't go so fast.
right.
I would enjoy driving this for maybe 10 minutes because it's really cool as an experience, I would imagine, but it looks extremely uncomfortable. There's no way this thing has power steering.
Oh, no.
Or heated seats.
Oh, no.
And these are luxuries
Radar
that I've grown
cruise.
accustomed to.
Apple CarPlay.
I need Apple CarPlay and Google Maps.
Yeah, right.
I've lived in Cleveland my entire life, but if this car doesn't have Google Maps, I'm not going to find my way out of the museum. Okay? This is my dream garage.
It's pretty good for a garage.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
This is a 1909 Simplex, and it's got a
1909.
multi-tone horn.
Multi-tone?
So you can turn this little knob, and so you can, and then you can.
I just peed a little.
You adjust it just the right way. So you've got there's 6 little horns here, so you're just adjusting which one it's going through. So let's see if we can get a third tone. Try that.
What?
So yeah, this was really cool. There were actually some of these cars that had exhaust-driven horns, so you could play them like an organ.
That's cool.
We have an example of the organ, but we don't have it on a car right now.
These are works of art.
Yeah. I
There's
mean, this
wood
was
grain and red leather and
this would have been a very expensive car when it was new in 1909. This was actually rated to go 100 miles an hour.
Could you imagine going 100? There's no doors on this.
Right. If you could find a road long enough, because most of the time there was no pavement or anything like that, so it was dirt basically that you were trying to go 100 on. The stainless cars, those always get attention.
And you have a DeLorean.
We do. That's the first DeLorean. John DeLorean's brother ran a Cadillac dealership here in Cleveland, and this was the first DeLorean ever made.
The first DeLorean ever made.
It was gifted to his brother, and it was his daily driver for a number of years. There's a few differences between this car and a standard production DeLorean.
I noticed that immediately.
There was a lot of tumult in the end of DeLorean. John was actually arrested for a sting operation involving international customs and.
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if he found himself in trouble, hop in the DeLorean.
Yeah, go back
kick
in
it to 88. Get out of there.
Exactly.
There's other stainless steel cars. I think when you think about stainless steel cars, the only thing you think of is the DeLorean.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
you've got 3 more right here.
We do, yeah. These were built by Allegheny Ludlam Steel as promotional vehicles, and this is, as far as we can tell, the only complete set in the world. So they had the 36 Ford, the 60 Thunderbird, and the 66 Lincoln. There's only 2 of these Thunderbirds in the world.
And you have one of them.
And we have one of them. And
So-
we also have the other 2 cars that they built.
I don't know whose idea it was to make cars with stainless steel. I feel like if you're driving on a hot day and something goes wrong and you have to pop the hood,
Yeah, it's going to be
you're
warm.
not going to do that. Wearing wool today, I'm hot. Can't even imagine. Stainless steel scratches so easily, and
Yes.
it's soft, it dents
Yes.
so easily.
The whole point of this was promotion for the company. It's a steel company, so they wanted to show what they could do. They wanted to show these complex curves. This is notoriously hard to shape.
I like
Yeah.
to do things no one's allowed to do.
It's a very big steering wheel, so
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And it's way more comfortable than I thought it was going to be.
those were very luxurious cars at the time, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't. I don't want to. I'm trying to be extra careful here. So I'm here with Anne in the library, and this is the most modern part, I think, of the museum, but in a great way. I mean, we went through the history of Cleveland and the history of the world, really, with some of the artifacts and the neat things. And now it's like stepping into today, which is very cool. And I know that you are about more than just today. You like to dig deep. Tell me about what you do.
Right. Well, it's a great question. It's interesting that you should say that this is the new part, because actually the Historical Society was started as our library in 1867. So some of the things that I do is help people trace their family lineage, trace their family history, and really research any part of Cleveland history, whether it be about businesses, religious institutions, neighborhoods, so all sorts of wonderful things. It's a great place of discovery.
I love it.
We have a number of individuals in the library who network with the community
Yeah.
and bring collections in, including philanthropic archives, Jewish history archives, Italian
This is
history archives.
wonderful.
We've had many researchers over the years come in to study some of our collections that relate to crime history. So we even have some of Elliot Ness's papers here, and the postcards, the infamous postcards that were sent to Elliot Ness.
Wow. Genealogically, that's big. A lot of people this is a thing over the past 10 years maybe. People have gotten really into genealogy.
Well, it's really before that, almost for the last 50 years,
Okay.
genealogy has become really popular. In the past, some individuals were just interested in tracing their New England ancestry or ancestry related back to the Revolutionary War.
Sure.
But with the movie Roots, it completely opened up. So many more people saw themselves as family historians. So we actually have records from all over the world that
This is
people
so
can
great.
review here.
This is so great.
It's a lot of fun.
You should, so anyone wondering about Ancestry, you don't just have to go to Ancestry.com or MyHeritage. You have an actual place here in Cleveland where you can research your roots in Cleveland, your roots in the world. You can kind of go back and learn about your own family right here in person.
That's right.
That's so much cooler than going on the computer and doing it.
Well, it is fun, and the great thing about looking at Ancestry is it does give you some leads, but many people get frustrated looking at it. So here,
Guilty.
it's added value because we use it all the time, every day, so we can usually get through some of those hard points. those
This is
difficult
great.
points.
So if somebody wants to be a part of this and explore the library themselves, can they just come in? Do they need to make an appointment? Do they go online?
We're open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday by appointment.
Okay.
10 until 3. But if you're just tracing family history, you can walk in. That's fine. The appointments really are for individuals who are doing more intense research in specific collections, like archival collections and
Okay.
photographs. But if you're just tracing your family history and want to come by, please do Thursday, Friday, Saturday between 10 and 3, and we'd love to work with you.
This is exciting. Get over here now. You're going to have such a great time, and you're going to learn so much.
It's very compelling.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to sail away. I have to leave. I wish I could stay. I really do wish I could stay because I knew it when I walked in here. I wasn't going to be able to really appreciate everything today. This is a several day thing to experience to really get the most of it, right?
Oh, yes, and every time you come back, there will be something new.
Something new.
We are
It's constantly changing.
changing.
This is great.
Permanent exhibits have new stories to add, new artifacts to present, and then changing galleries. We're changing exhibits regularly throughout the year.
This is so
a
great.
membership's a good thing to have. You come for free every time.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to become a member, how do they do that?
You can join us online, in person, or by phone. You can
Okay.
visit us at wrhs.org. You could always follow us on social media to see what's new and happening and a little behind the scenes
I
look.
will definitely be doing that as soon as I leave here.
CLE starts here.
At
Cleve.
CLE starts here.
At Cleve starts here, yes. And then, just come visit. We're open Thursdays from noon till 8 p.m. So it's a great date night option, after hours option. And then we're open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
This is so great.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and anyone watching needs to get in their car right now and come down and have a blast, as long as they're open. But go online, check it out, become a member. This is where our money needs to be going, to preserving the history of our amazing city And so that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're doing. And we had such a great time, and you will too. So remember, the next time you want to know what to do, where to go, and what to see, check out the show and
Cleave it to
Leave it to
Cleave it to
Leave it to
Cleave it to us.